Hi, I'm Finn, and I am just taking a few minutes to talk about power dynamics as they are experienced in porn, and how we might be able to use porn at this moment as a window into our own assumptions around power and how those themes show up in race. I've personally been reading Robin DiAngelo's book, White Fragility, and it's been really helpful for me to really understand some dynamics on racism that I'd never considered before. One of the ideas is that as I was growing up as a child and thinking about this so much, hearing racism described as someone else's experience, it was like, oh, if race came up, it wasn't about me. It wasn't about something that me or my family or that I was a part of. It was like other people's thing. So what really has opened my eyes recently around this idea around being in a system and being contained in a system of dynamics that, like, my culture, my family, being able to see in my own self and my own life how being a gay man has, and in a particular experience of being a gay man and being like attacked a lot, and my father being physically abusive with me, my culture being physically abusive with me, men in my life attacking me. I still have this experience, and as I'm 40 years old, where I might be standing in front of a man who's a straight man and feeling internally like I'm needing to be vigilant, or just like, am I okay, am I safe? And I started thinking about this experience where no matter how much I talk about these themes and do work in myself around internalized homophobia and misogyny, that these dynamics can still arise and be present. I can't or take myself out of a system in which I've been raised and take all these dynamics out of me. They're still very much a part of who I am and how I experience myself. And then as all this discussion around race has been put in front of us, the work has been really intense for a lot of people recently in ways that they never really thought about race before. And I've been talking with a lot of my clients, and a lot of them are white, and some of these dynamics they've never really thought about before. And the reason I brought up porn is because I think porn is a place in which many people go to experience a part of their desire and a part of their own inner fantasy life. And in a lot of ways, it's unexamined, or in many ways, it's unexamined. It's just a mood arises, a horniness is there, and then one goes to porn. So a few years back, one of the first inklings that I myself discovered in myself around like a systemic racism was flipping through porn and noticing I was just bypassing people of color and looking for a specific image, and these images are images that we've all been shown tons and tons of times. Any kind of gay publications, or like white guys with abs, a certain kind of look and aesthetic and physique about them that symbolizes where desire lives, right? Now, in my own contactual personal life, I've had sex with some of my first formative experiences were and very positive experiences were with Black men. And I've had sexual experiences with Black men that look nothing like what happens in porn, right? So in this day that I was doing this and flipping by, I was just noticing, like, wow, what am I looking for right now? It was like coming to awareness, kind of. And I think that illustrates that when we go to porn, often there's not a lot of personal inquiry happening around what we're doing. It's just like a zeroing in on something. And it was a moment that was kind of an interruption for me in that process to say, whoa, this is unconscious here, and this is something that lives in me, and I'm looking for something and it's just, it was a way of seeing how I have these internalized structures around race that are built into me. And also, on top of that, there's a problematic piece around how different people are portrayed and how different races are portrayed in porn as caricatures and fetishized in certain kind of ways. And I want to encourage you to think about this in a broad context, in which if you are looking at porn in any kind of way, bring in a sense of inquiry and ask yourself, what are these things that I'm looking at? Like, what am I assuming this to mean? What does this symbolize? This other person as an object, no matter who they are. What am I assuming about this person? What do I think they symbolize? What parts of myself am I projecting out onto this person? What am I trying to import from this? And I often think about it now in a very different way. I don't really use porn as a practice, and if I do look at porn sometimes, it's in a different kind of way than it was whenever I was younger and would just like zoom into it and like kind of disappear and consume. Because I think there's a lot that we can learn about what is this domain out there that we relegate to the realm of fantasy and pornography. Like what does that say about us? It's a domain of information about the collective and what we think about power and who has power and how do they wield the power. Skin color being like a way of marking a kind of assumption about characteristics of people and how they show up. I mean, I have clients that are white men that describe and talk about their experience of feeling very, very shameful about maybe getting fucked, but if they want to get fucked, they want a black man to do that, right? So there's like this experience of transference that they're having with a person, and all these are parts of ourselves that we're putting out onto other people, and pieces of our own selves and our own power that we're assuming that other people have in certain kind of ways, and parts of ourselves that we don't really like about ourselves that we're projecting out onto other people, and it's all out there. And if we look at porn and we look at the way that it like shows aspects of humanity in different like part of a spectrum, if we really study what's happening there, what are we looking at? And if we look at these people, any of the people involved in it, and we look at them as a human instead of an object, we can understand a lot more about our own selves and how we are utilizing this mirror out here, this digital mirror, as a way to maybe like move away from parts of ourselves that we're not really comfortable with, or like move into parts of ourselves that we want to conflate and augment. And I want to encourage you to think about this and like look at your own experience around pornography and how it shows up for you in your own life. And I'm not in any way anti-pornography. I think that paradoxically it can be really helpful for us to get in touch with our desires sometimes. If we don't know how to put it into words, we can like utilize it to like access a part of ourselves. We can utilize it for enjoyment and for like the exoneration of shame in ourselves around sexuality. But what I'm inquiring about is, what are these objects, and is it not something beyond that we really want? And if we think about this analogy of like a stained glass image, right? So we have a composite maybe of many different pieces of glass of different colors and different shapes, and they come together and they make an image, and light comes through this image, and we see the image that's created out of all this, and we want that. That's like the analogy of the object. But really, if we break through that, the light is what is coming through, and that's what we're after, is the experience of like this like recognition of ourselves and like finding ourselves in other people. And I think that if we start to look at like going through the object into what it means to us and what we envision that means to us, then that can tell us a lot about ourselves. And especially right now, as this context around racism is like heating up so much, for people that have never thought about it before, I encourage you to think about your own sexual energy and how you utilize that and how you look for it in porn and in other people. And with gay men, looking at the ways that our broken relationships to power show up and how we treat other people who we're attracted to, what we assume about other people because of their race, and start breaking all that shit down and taking action to work towards a more equitable experience with other people. So if you have any questions, please reach out to me. Any comments, feedback, I would love that too. Finn@findeerhart.com, and I look forward to hearing from you.